We're back. Okay, Tuesday, October 20th, 1942. Dear Kitty, my hand still shakes, although it's 2 hours since we had the shock. I should explain that there are 5 fire extinguishers in the house. We knew that someone was coming to fill them, but no one had warned us when the carpenter, or whatever you call him, was coming. The result was that we weren't making any attempt to keep quiet until I heard hammering outside on the landing opposite to our cupboard. I thought of the carpenter at once and warned Ellie, who was having a meal with us, that she shouldn't go downstairs. Daddy and I posted ourselves at the door as to hear when the man left. As he had been working for a quarter of an hour, he laid his hammer and tools down on top of our cupboard, as we thought, and knocked at our door. We turned absolutely white. Perhaps he had heard something after all and wanted to investigate our secret den. It seemed like it. The knocking, pulling, pushing, and wrenching went on. I nearly fainted at the thought that an utter stranger might discover our beautiful secret hiding place. And just as I thought my hour was at hand, I heard Mr. Kufius say, "Open the door! It's only me!" We opened it immediately. Whew. The hook that holds the cupboard, which can be undone by people who know the secret, had gotten jammed. That's why no one had been able to warn us about the carpenter. The man had now gone downstairs, and Kufius wanted to fetch Ellie, but couldn't open the cupboard again. It was a great relief to me, I can tell you. In my imagination, the man who I thought was trying to get in had been growing and growing in size until the end he appeared to be a giant with the greatest fashions that ever walked the earth. Well. Luckily, everything was okay this time. Meanwhile, we had great fun on Monday. Mipe and Hank, I can't remember how she says it, spent the night here. Marco and I went in Mummy and Daddy's room for the night so that the Van Santons could have our room. The meal tasted divine. There was one small interruption. Daddy's lamp blew a fuse, and all of a sudden, we were sitting in darkness. What was to be done? There was some fuse wire in the house, but the fuse box is right at the very back of the dark storeroom. Not such a nice job after dark. Still, the men ventured forth, and after 10 minutes, we were able to put the candles away again. I got up early this morning. Hank had to leave at 8:30. After a cozy breakfast, Mike went downstairs. It was pouring, and she was glad not to have to cycle to the office. Next week, Ellie is coming to stay for a night. Yours, Anne. Thursday, October 29th, 1942. Dear Kitty, I am awfully worried Daddy is ill. He has had a high temperature and a red rash. It looks like measles. Think of it. We can't even call a doctor. Mummy is letting him have good sweat. Perhaps that will send his temperature down. This morning, Mike told us that all the furniture has been removed from the Van Dan's home. We haven't told Miss Van Dan yet. She's such a bundle of nerves already, and we don't like listening to another moan over all the lovely china and beautiful chairs she had left at home. We had to leave almost all our nice things behind, so what's the good in grumbling about it now? I'm allowed to read more grown-up books lately. I'm now reading Ava's Youth by Nico van Schloten. I can't see much difference between this and the schoolgirl love stories, but it is true, there are bits about women selling themselves to unknown men in back streets. They ask a packet of money for it. I'd die in shame if anything like this happened to me. Also, it says that Ava has a monthly period. Oh, I'm so longing to have it too. It seems so important. Daddy has brought the plays of Goethe and Schiller from the big cupboard. He's going to read to me every evening. We've started with Don Carlos. Following Daddy's good example, Mummy has pressed her prayer book into my hand. For decency's sake, I read some of the prayers in German. They are certainly beautiful, but they don't convey much to me. Why does she force me to be pious? Just to oblige her. Tomorrow we are going to light the fire for the first time. I expect we shall be suffocated with smoke. The chimney hasn't been swept for ages. Let's hope the thing draws. Yours, Anne. Saturday, November 7th, 1942. Dear Kitty, Mummy is frightfully irritable, and that always seems to be herald unpleasantness for me. Is it just chance that Daddy and Mummy never rebuke Margot, and they always drop on me for everything? Yesterday evening, for instance, Margot was reading a book with lovely drawings in it. She got up and went upstairs, put the book down, ready to go on with it later. I wasn't doing anything, so I picked up the book and started looking at the pictures. Margot came back, saw her book in my hands, wrinkled her forehead, and asked for the book back just because I wanted to look a little further on. Margot got more and more angry. Then Mummy joined in. Get the book to Margot! She was reading it, she said. Daddy came into the room. He didn't even know what it was all about, but he saw the injured look on Margot's face and was promptly dropped on me. I'd like to see what you'd say if Margot ever started looking at one of your books. I gave way at once, laid the book down, and left the room, offended, as they thought. So it so happened I was neither offended nor cross, just miserable. It wasn't right of Daddy to judge without knowing what the squabble was about. I would have given Margot the book myself, and much more quickly, if Mummy and Daddy hadn't interfered. They took Margot's part at once, as though she were the victim of some great injustice. It's obvious that Mummy would stick up for Margot. She and Margot always do back each other up. I'm so used to that I'm utterly indifferent to both Mummy jawing and Margot's moods. I love them, only because they are Mummy and Margot. With Daddy, it's different. If he holds Margot up as an example, approves of what she does, praises and caresses her, then something gnaws at me inside, because I adore Daddy. He's the one I look up to. I don't love anyone in the world but him. He doesn't notice that he treats Margot differently from me. Now, Margot is just the prettiest, sweetest, most beautiful girl in the world. But all the same, I feel I have some right to be taken seriously, too. I have always been the dunce, the nerd, the ne'er-do-well of the family. I've always had to pay double for my deeds, first with the scolding and again because of the way my feelings were hurt. Now I'm not satisfied with this apparent favoritism anymore. I want something from Daddy that he is not able to give me. I'm not jealous of Margot, never have been. I don't envy her good looks or her beauty. It is only that I long for Daddy's real love, not as his child, but for me and myself. I cling to Daddy because it's only through him that I am able to retain a remnant of family feeling. Daddy doesn't understand that I need to give vent to my feelings over Mummies sometimes. He doesn't want to talk about it. He simply avoids anything which might lead to remarks about Mummy's failings. Just the same, Mummy and her feelings are something I find harder to bear than anything else. I don't know how to keep it all to myself. I can't always be drawing attention to her untidiness or her sarcasm, her lack of sweetness. Neither can I believe that I'm always in the wrong. We are exact opposites in everything, so naturally we are bound to run up against each other. I don't pronounce judgment on Mummy's character, for that is something I can't judge. I only look at her as my mother, and she just doesn't succeed on that to me. I have to be my own mother. I've drawn myself apart from them all. I am my own skipper, and later on I shall see where I come to land. All this comes about particularly because I have in my mind's eye an image of what a perfect mother and wife should be. And in her, whom I must call mother, I find no trace of that image. I'm always making resolutions not to notice Mummy's bad example. I want to see only the good side of her and to seek in myself what I cannot find in her. But it doesn't work. And the worst of it is that neither Daddy nor Mummy understands the gap in my life, and I blame them for it. I wonder if anyone can ever succeed in making their children absolutely content. Sometimes I believe that God wants me to try, both now and later on. I must become good through my own efforts, without examples without good advice. Then, later on, I shall be all the stronger. Who besides me will ever read these letters? From whom but myself shall I get comfort? As I need comforting often, I frequently feel weak and dissatisfied with myself. My shortcomings are too great. I know this, and every day I try to improve myself again and again. My treatment varies so much. One day, Anne is so sensible and is allowed to know everything, and the next day I hear that Anne is just a silly little goat who doesn't know anything at all and imagines that she's learned a wonderful lot from books. I'm not a baby or a spoiled darling anymore to be laughed at, whatever she does. I have my own views, plans, and ideas, though I can't put them into words yet. Oh, so many things bubble up inside me, and I lie in bed, having to put up with people I'm fed up with, who always interpret my intentions. That's why, in the end, I always come back to my diary. That is where I start and finish, because Kitty is always patient. I'll promise her that I shall persevere in spite of everything, and find my own way through it all, and swallow my tears. I only wish I could see the results already, or occasionally receive encouragement from someone who loves me. Don't condemn me. Remember, rather than sometimes, I too can reach a bursting point. Yours, Anne.